Hello, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon, depending of where you are. I am Vincent Go, and I'm going to be your host tonight for this special Substance live stream with our invitee, Roberto de Rose. Hey, Roberto, how is it going?
Hey Vincent, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Confined, but good. Today we are here with Roberto, who is the co-founder of State of the Art Academy, which is an archviz school and studio, if I'm not wrong, in Italy, close to Venice.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk not specifically about archviz today, but it will be mostly about some tips and tricks within Unreal Engine that you have learned by the time. Of course, substance tips and tricks. But before to start, maybe you can present yourself a bit, Roberto.
Yeah, sure. I'm Roberto from Italy, from State of Art Academy, and can I share my screen?
Sure, yeah, it's
Yeah.
better to share your screen. Just wait a
Okay.
second, and
Okay.
it won't be long.
Um, Basically, I'm a 3D artist, and I'm also a teacher in our academy. Um, I've I'm here because I fell in love with Substance Designer, and I'm also working with Unreal Engine in the last years, and I really enjoy to discover new way to create contents and basically new way to new workflows to speed up the process in Unreal. And I mean, I will speak a little bit about myself. I don't really like to talk about me. So we have a lot of stuff to see today, and this is not the classical, tutorial about or webinar about material making. This is basically a talk about how I normally work with Unreal and some tips and tricks I normally use to speed up the process and to do stuff that you normally can't do just with Unreal. I would say that Substance Designer is the backbone of my workflow every day, and as you will see, there's a little bit of it in each thing we do at SOA. So after that, I will talk about the project. Is I have a project, a personal project in my head about a short movie I want to do with Unreal, and of course, Substance Designer is part of the process. Is a one-man band thing, so I'm working alone at home at night, when the kids go to bed, and I have to find ways to get a result in a very short amount of time, and because I have no help in this project. And because of this project, I've done some research and development, and I found new ways to achieve good results in a short amount of time, which is basically what we are going to see in the talk today. So what we're going to see is is like 5 points, actually four. One is bonus if we have enough time, Vincent. And we are going to see how to do post-production of textures using Substance Designer inside Unreal, and how to make auto-matching decals depending on the shader where the decals are projected, how to mix procedural materials from Substance Designer and photogrammetry from whatever you want to take textures, and for the end, how to make endless materials with any Substance Designer graph. For example, from graphs you can download from the source, from source.substance.com. If we have time, it would be cool to see also how to make flipbooks, because the new version of Unreal will support clouds,
Yeah.
and to create volumetric clouds, Substance Designer will be an incredible tool because we can build volumetric textures. Let's go ahead. I mean, I have a small ArtStation page. These are some artwork I've done years ago, and this is before I knew, the existence of Substance. And I mean, I work in the archviz field, but personally, when I'm home, I like to do different things, like illustrations, like sci-fi stuff, and I love also to change a lot because I get bored very very quickly, and so it's like saying, okay, this month I will do some matte painting. The next month, I don't know, maybe some shaders, and so this artwork here are made for the Academy days, I'm going to talk about that later. And this is the first artwork where I used Substance Designer for some textures, and this is like years ago. And I also enjoy that because I understood the importance, the meaning of creating like assets you can repeat and can reuse in the scene many times. Because in the whole cave we have just 3 rocks, and and they're just repeated over and over, and I did what those 3 rocks did a great job, and this was the first test I've done with Substance Painter. Actually, the Sentinel took me like 8 hours to model and 8 hours to unwrap, and just 35 minutes of Substance Painter. So that day you say, okay, this is the way to go. This is the right tool, to save time and get a nice result. This is another artwork I've done in my free time. I know it could be a little bit gross, but I pick it because I remember that I found a photo of a texture of some flesh, some animal flesh, and I just make it tileable with the smart auto tiles from Substance Designer. And this is another proof, and there's only one shader in the whole scene, and I was happy because it took me like 5 minutes, and I got something, and I work with. I mean, in this one, I just made the plastic for the case, and but I mean, I really love also to work, outside Substance Designer. Sometimes I love to do some matte painting. This is my first love. This is what I really enjoy to do, and of course, I love to do shaders. So in the studio, normally what I do is shaders and matte painting, and these are just some examples of stuff I found on your Instagram page, and I'm basically copying them. We work at I work at SOA Studio. I'm a co-founder with Giampiero and Manuela, and we do classic archviz stuff. And in the studio, normally I'm the one in charge of materials. So when the client comes in, I just work on materials, and then I pass them to my colleagues, and they continue to work. And sometimes Substance is amazing because it let us to do something that there's no way to do in another way, like creating like custom breaks for every different windows of these facades. And I built a graph. It took me like 2 days, but then in 20 minutes a facade was done. And it was the
this
only
one is
way.
really cool. This was really cool.
Now about Academy, we there is a video, and it's 10 years now. We teach people how to do archviz, and we really love that. We really love to see artists grow and find jobs. And there's so many people now around the world that came to Academy, and we always try to do our best. Now we have also a new website, and we are going to do online classes soon. And we have also a new space, to fight against COVID, and we have larger room, larger spaces, and it's something that we really trust on, and we try to improve ourselves every day, and we work a lot on the Academy side. And about Academy, every year we do the Academy Days, which are basically like the event. But normally, is live. I mean, I think there is another video, and the Academy Days are kind of like the a party, like it's like meeting friends, that year after year, and we have tons of very cool artists presenting their jobs and their works. And this year, unfortunately, for the COVID situation, is not possible to go live, so we are going to do an online version on 3rd and 4th of December. And thanks also to Substance for being a sponsors. And and we just released the website yesterday, and we almost 500 tickets are gone. So I'm pretty happy. And we are doing this to support Red Cross against COVID. So it's for a good cause, and with great contents. And that's it. I mean, it's gonna be great. Now, going back to the presentation, we have an ArtStation page on ArtStation SOA Academy, and you can check here. You can see all the final images that students have done in this 10 years, because at the end of the course, everyone has one image. And
that's actually where I stole my background, my actual background, which is made by one of your students, who is called Chantal, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. And we are really proud of them, and they do a lot of great job. I mean, is 1 month is tough for people, but the result, I think, is also as great as the effort. Now, going back to the presentation, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I want to talk 1 minute about the project I'm working on my free time. It's called Frank, and is a short movie done in Unreal, and it's about a robot that just saved the entire human race, but at a price. And is in the story is in London in the near future, and it's about climate change. And and the main story is in an underground facility. And so at this time, I really trust in this project, and I want to spend enough time doing the right thing. So I do some matte painting of the different areas. So I just prepare some sketches of these scenes, and I've done some tests with outside scene, because I need to show the situation on on the poles. And then I really like this one. I really like this matte painting I've done, and then I convert this into Unreal. And this is still a work in progress, but this is the scene I've done right now. And this is also the reason for this lecture, because I really I found some problems, and I try to solve them because of the scene. So today we are going to see how I solve these problems. And one thing more, I mean, I'm shocked about the quality that nowadays we can render with Unreal, and we can really understand why is so important to work with Substance and get nice quality out of it, because now we can render like a 16K image in like 2 minutes. So this is basically rendered in 16K with high resolution render, and you can tell how much you can zoom in, and as 2 minutes for a 16K render is amazing these days. And that's it. Now let's go back to the presentation. And I mean, when I work on a scene, normally the first thing I do is I use simple geometries, which in Unreal are called brushes. So imagine something like cubes and cylinders, and planes, and you can decide the size of them and you can place them around. And so you can build your scene before actually modeling it in 3ds Max. So the cool thing is you do this in Unreal with simple shapes, and then you export the results in as a FBX. You import them in 3ds Max, and you can just model over them in 3ds Max. Then I mean we can see that this is the second step, with the meshes import from 3ds Max, and with the shaders applied, and this is like a full screen render of the final thing, but I just show you this. Now before we start with the with talk, I need to show, I mean, probably not everybody has worked with Unreal and the Substance plugin. So I thought that it was cool to show how to install the plugin, and what is a master material and what is a material instance in Unreal, and how to work with the Substance plugin inside Unreal. Is it okay for you, Vincent?
Yeah, it's definitely okay. I have already a question, which is, I don't know if it's a joke or not, but I think it's still cool to to say it. Is someone is asking, is matte painting is actually math painting? So, because we are with Substance, so there is a mathematical process, I would say, but there is no relation. So I can let you explain. You can make this joke with your students if you want after.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. I mean, I wish I could use Substance Designer also in Photoshop, but it's probably too much even for me. So now the thing is, if we jump into Unreal, I mean, this is the scene, and I of course installed the Substance plugin. But if we open the launcher, give me a second. If we open the launcher, here we go. To install the Substance plugin, you need to go into the marketplace and search here in the search field Substance, and then and then you will find Substance in Unreal Engine. And of course here I already installed it, so if you don't have it, you should see here download, install, and instead of install to engine, you download it. Takes a minute, and then once it is downloaded, you click on install, and you pick the version of the software you want to install this for. And of course I have it already installed, so but you should have a drop down menu with, I don't know, 4.25, and you click, and then Substance is installed. Please remember to close Unreal when you do that, so you shouldn't have the Unreal Engine opened when you install it.
Also, I want to remind you guys that if you work in production and heavily with Substance, that of course Unreal is updated a lot, and we also update the plugin, but just make sure before to update Unreal that the Substance engine works and has been updated for the current version, because if not, you may have some incompatibility. We just released one version 1 week ago, if I'm not wrong, but sometimes we have some people who update really quickly Unreal. Meanwhile, the plugins are not yet up to date because there is a delay for validation, etc. So just make sure before to update Unreal that all the plugins, including Substance 1, are available as well and compatible.
Yeah, and also if you can see my screen, yeah. And if, also if you have an update of, if you have to install an update in the plugin, you need to go here, install plugin, and you will see here if there is an update. So if there is an update, you can shut down Unreal, and here will be there will be a button with update on. So once it's done, you can start Unreal once it's installed, and you can click on here, settings, plugins, and you need to turn on the plugin from here. And probably once you do that, Unreal will restart. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Now, before we start with the talk, I need to talk about master materials. Now, in Unreal, Unreal is different from V-Ray or Corona or other render engines where you can just start with a new material. In Unreal, you need to create your own material first, and these materials are called masters. And you can tell the difference between a master and another type of material, because if you click on a master material, you can open it and you can see nodes, basically. So when you have a master material, you have attributes here on the right. So you have base color, metallic, specular, roughness, and then you can have other stuff. Now, this is a very simplified version of a master material, because normally what you have is some textures, okay? So some texture samples, and you have some coordinates. So a node that say, okay, this texture goes in this way, applied to the object. And then normally we have some post-production. For example, if you have a texture and you want the texture like to be a kind of, I don't know, darker, you can have some nodes here that makes the texture darker in real time. But the best practice is you never apply a master material to something in the scene. And the reason is the master material, every time you change something inside it, have to be compiled again. So it takes time. So you don't want that. You want, to right click on a master material and create a material instance. So the material instance is pre-compiled, and it works basically in real time. So if you change something in here, you see it changed the result at the same time in real time, I would say. And that's why you need to make your master material and then make an instance of it and apply the instance. And as you can do in Substance Designer, with every kind of value, you can have constants, so values that you can change only from within the master material, and you can have parameters. Like, Vincent, when you have like a value in Substance Designer and you right click, expose, and you expose the value, then that value becomes a parameter, and you can change it from the outside. You can change it from the other softwares.
Exactly.
And in the master material is the same. If I want to change this texture from the outside, right now I cannot do that. You see, there's no texture here. But if I right click on the texture and I convert this to a parameter, then I pick a name for this parameter, I don't know, base color, and I can save, and the instance material will be updated, and I can have now a texture slot here. And so if I put a texture there, I will see it in the shader. So this is the difference between master materials and instances. And it's pretty important to understand this. Basically, the rule is in the scene, you just use instances, no master materials. Okay. And of course, for every project, you can have different master materials depending on what you need to do. Now, what can we do with the Substance plugin? We can import any SBS AR file, basically, okay? So we can click on import, and for example, here I have something like, I don't know, a concrete horizon tiles, and we can, that's a shader I downloaded from source, from the website. Here, I download it, and then when you open it, the Substance plugin asks you for, I mean, if you want to just create the nodes, or you want also to create a material, and you can go with the material if you want. And basically you get this. So you get these two weird nodes, and then you have some textures, and then you have a material. So the cool thing about the source is like, you know, drag and drop. You can download the shader, import in Unreal, and then apply the shader, and that's it. You can open it, and you have some controls, you know, and you can, you know, tile it more, and that's it. But as you can see, you don't have any kind of control on the post-production, you know, by default.
Yeah.
So you cannot say, okay, I want this darker, I want this brighter, because those controls are inside here, are inside the instance, okay? You see there is two nodes, one is green, one is red. The green one is the graph itself, is the package, I would say.
Yeah.
And this is an instance of that package. So every time you want a new instance, you right click here, create graph instance, and you create another copy of this concrete, okay? And from this, for this other copy, you will have even more textures and another shader. So you can, I don't know, have two different concretes right now. Normally, the post-production of a shader is inside here, inside the instance. If the artist that made the shader thought about it, you know, if the guy did some post-production inside the graph. But sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes, you know, you don't have any control on, I don't know, the luminosity. In this case, you have, okay? But I want to find a way to do post-production on textures, even on texture that don't come from Substance Designer.
Yeah.
So from any kind of texture you can have in Unreal. And nowadays, you know, people, you know, download textures from everywhere. So I will go back for a second to my presentation, and sorry. And now this is the core of my idea. Substance Designer today is, I mean, for me today is not a software to create textures, to make materials, but is kind of a filter. Is something that is in between, you know, old textures and new textures. So for me, is like I told you, is like a little bit like hacking textures, okay, from others, from source, from everywhere. And you know, you will see this a lot of times. So in Substance Designer, you can have an input, right? It's a node. It's called input, and something can happen in the middle. Okay, I don't know. For example, you can take that input and, you know, rotate it, or you can scale it, or you can make it darker, and then you get an output. So this is what happens. We have something, and a texture coming in on the left, and something else will came out on the right. And this is the idea, okay? Now, why, first point of the talk, why post-production of texture is so important? Because, you know, every node you have in a master material increase the number of instructions. And, you know, instructions, the number of instructions is basically the complexity of a shader in Unreal. And you can tell, you can read that number. So if I go back in Unreal and I open a shader, a master material, of course, I can read here on the bottom here, this master material has 124 instructions, which is not a lot because we have a few nodes, but, you know, you can easily go higher than those instructions. And the problem is when you go over 200 instructions, then, you know, is not that good, right? So as a best practice, I would always say, okay, let's stay under 200. And the thing is, if we and when we can check also, we can check from the viewport. You know, if you press Alt 8 or you go in, this panel view mode, optimization view mode, shader complexity, you can get this out of the scene. So basically, the greener, the better. And there's some shaders which are, brighter than others, which like this one for the pipe. This one costs less than this one, for example. But as you can see, it's pretty easy to go red and to create something that costs to Unreal too much probably. And so we need to find a way to decrease the number of nodes inside a master material. And so my thought is, what if, and this is a basic, this is the easiest one we have for a master material in SOA. We have 3 texture, the base color, the roughness, and the normal map. We have some tiling, and then all this stuff is post-production, because you can change the color of the base color, you can change the roughness, you can change the intensity of the normal maps. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you don't have to understand this. The only thing you need to understand is that this stuff, this setup costs you 138 instructions, okay? And maybe this one with the parallax effect, which is a kind of displacement, costs you 197 instructions. And there is no post-production in here. So if I add some post-production, it will cost over, 200. And so what can we do, to keep the instruction as low as possible? We can take and, bring the post-production inside a graph in Substance Designer. And it's going to look like this, so we will have some input, and we are going to do the same thing, the same type of post-production. I don't know, for example, luminosity, hue, saturation. We are going to put some ambient occlusion on top. We are going to put some, a curvature from the normal map. We are going to increase the strength or decrease the strength of the normal map. We are going to change the roughness. So everything it's here, and so we don't have to do that in the master material. Now, if we switch to the substance designer, I have here some textures, so you can understand what happens if we basically import this material in Unreal. So as you can see, we have some base post-production for the base color. We have some, hue, saturation, lightness. And as you can see, everything here in this node is exposed. So we can control that from Unreal.
Yeah, okay? Definitely.
And for example, the ambient occlusion is then merged with the base color on top of it, of course, in multiply. And we are doing this because if you think, we will end up with less textures than when we started. So instead of using 5 textures in Unreal, we are using only 4. And for example, here I have another kind of ambient occlusion, because I love to work with curvature, and the curvature smooth from the normal map, and I blend them together, and I created another kind of ambient occlusion, and I blended in overlay over the top, over the original base color.
I just wanted to make a pause on this, because for people to understand that how shader works compared to Substance Engine. The Substance Engine is a texture generator. So basically, it will process the texture once, and then you have a static result in the texture. So which means that you do the instruction once, you read the graph, and then it's like in the memory, and the CPU is not used. Meanwhile, a shader will calculate all the instructions 30 frames per second, 30 times per second, more or less, or 60 times per second. That's why you want to think about looking at the result you want, see what could be static, so which needs to be calculated once, and once to what's maybe dynamic. In that case, you may want to put this in the shader. So that's part. Exactly. So that's the idea behind separating and putting within the texture the results, because once it's calculated, it's calculated. It doesn't have to be reprocessed 60 times per second.
Yeah, the texture is done, and you don't have to touch it anymore. I mean, like in Unreal, if we want to increase the normal intensity, we need to touch only the red and the green channel. So it's a rule. You don't touch the blue channel when you want to modify the normal map. So I just put a contrast luminosity to contrast a little bit more the red and the green channel. And the roughness is basically just a mask for two values of roughness.
Cool.
Now, I mean, I can show you the result in Unreal. I have here a scene, and is quite an empty scene, and I have a master material here, and which is very simple, which is something like this. As you can see, there's no post-production in this master material, just 3 textures and some, you know, tiling, specular, and metallic. And then this is the instance. So is waiting for 3 textures, okay? Base color, normal, and glossiness. And here I have the instance of the shader, the graph I just show you, and it is asking me for those 5 inputs, okay? And I can just use some texture I have here. I download them from source. So I put the base color, I put the height here, I put the normal map here, I put the ambient occlusion here, and the roughness down here. And basically now the graph is working, and we can go back on part 1 here. And if I save, and it should work if I go and wait for a second. Here we have. Let's wait another couple of seconds because I put like 4K, and I need to save.
Meanwhile, we have a question. Someone is asking about the instructions, if they were the node in the substance graph. Not exactly. They were asking what instructions are exactly. So basically, that's the command you send to the processor to be processed. So the more complex is your shader, the more instruction it will send to your processor, either the GPU or the CPU. I think it was a second question, which was, does your CPU have an influence on instructions? Yes. The more powerful, of course, the more it will be able to treat instructions. I think I'm right, Roberto.
Wait a second, because I need to put the new texture here. Wait a second.
Sure.
Sorry.
No problem. But I think I'm right anyway. Yeah. So basically, instructions are not in the substance graph, even if basically that's what we do also in the substance graph, but it's not the same notion, because we are going to treat the substance graph once, and then it will be a texture. So it may take more or less time depending on the complexity of your graph. But once it's done, it's done. It will occupy memory as a texture, but it won't occupy processing time. Exactly. Meanwhile, the shader, the instruction of a shader, yes, that will.
Exactly. So right now, what I've done is I had some textures. I put those textures into the graph as inputs, and then I get back these textures as results. And I can just, you know, I apply the shader, which is basically the shader I showed you before, the one very simple, the simple with 128 instructions. And I can play now with this, and I get you know, real time, almost real time updates. And I can change the color, I can change the darkness of it, I can change the roughness, and it's like doing post-production with the standard Unreal material, but this is not going to cost you. And that's it. I mean, it's a great thing. What else? If you are not working outside source, if you are working just with source, think about this as a way to do some channel packing, for example. So, you can have 5 textures from the source material, but then you can do some, RGBI merge inside Substance, and you can get like 3 texture out of it because you can channel pack into Substance Designer. So is a great thing because it brings out, it gives you the power to get what you want, and with the minimal effort for the engine to run that shader.
Definitely.
Now, you see, this is the pros. We can reduce the number of instruction in a shader. We can reduce the number of textures used in game. We can change any texture in real time like we do in Unreal. We can control the starting resolution of any texture because, now those textures go into Substance graphs. So you can say, okay, I don't need a 4K texture. It could be just 1K. And so you reduce the number of mip maps you have. Mip maps are basically the when you import a texture in Unreal creates automatically all the smaller brothers of that textures. Like, I don't know, if you import a 4K texture, then you have a 2K texture, a 1K texture, a 500 pixel texture, and Unreal loads those textures when he needs them. So if you are far from an object, you don't see the 4K texture, you see maybe the 1K texture. And the starting resolution is important because if you have a lower resolution, then you will have less smaller textures, and so on. And then modifying the Substance graph, I show you, you can also do some channel packing automatically.
Cool. We have some question in the chat,
yeah, sure.
About all of this. So to summarize, I would say that whenever you can put the details or the information within the texture in the Substance file, the better, because it means you save in instructions. And
Okay.
so in the question we have one, does the texture sample size affect number of instructions in the material? No, the size does not change. It will just occupy more memory.
Yeah.
More processing time, because if it's done by pixel, for example, it needs more pixels. But so the instruction will be longer to be treated, but the number of instruction won't change directly.
And more than that, also you need to be careful because some nodes are more expensive than others.
Yeah.
In Unreal, so you need to know which one to use. That's it. Next topic.
Yeah. There is other question, but we'll treat them later on.
All right. So next topic is really cool. I believe it's about decals. Now, decals in Unreal are like labels, or like stuff you can project on surfaces, and you can change them. Like, I don't know, you have a perfect road, but you want some cracks, some holes, and then you can download from source, or you can do yourself this kind of cracks, as you can see from my screen, and you can just project them on a surface. Now, normally what you do is you try to match the color of these cracks to the color of the asphalt, for example. And it happens every day that then, when everything is over, then you go back on the shader and you say, maybe I don't like this asphalt color. Maybe I want to make it a little bit darker. And then you feel like, oh crap, I have 100 decals over that shader. I need to go in every decal and change every decal manually. I have to, modify the brightness of every decal and match it again. So for me, this process, it takes too much. So I came up with an idea and said, okay, what if the decal can understand the color of the bottom layer? What if the decal can understand, the color of the floor or the surface where is attached? and then and automatically updates. And I thought about it, and then the solution is again the Substance plugin. And basically, and you can tell in here in my image, all the green squares, all the green cubes are decals. So the scene is full of decals, and it would take hours to update them manually if I had to. So the solution is to create a Substance graph. And in this Substance graph, we are going to put two inputs: the original decals and the surface base color. And automatically, Substance Designer will take this color, take this luminosity, and change the decal to match that. And so it's very cool. And actually, I found this kind of problematic because something wasn't working probably at the beginning. So I have to show you. So now let me take this as an example. Okay, so let's say that we have this surface as a base color, and we have this concrete decal, and we want to match them together, right? And so what happened is right now, right now they are basically two different, but this is the kind of result I want. So I want to match this color and luminosity to this one. So what can we do? Well, first of all, we need to understand how to extract the color and the luminosity from this texture. And I tried different things like the color node. And I don't know why, but I'm technically, I don't know why it happens, but the final color is kind of different from the original one. As you can see here, this is kind of brownish, reddish, and this is kind of purple to me. And I also tried the chrominance extract node, which, as you can see, looks a little bit better on the color, but not on the luminosity. And so what I've done was, I feel bad to say that, but I just blurred that. I just blurred the texture a lot, and that worked. And so the second problem is how we can take this color and this luminosity and put it over the original decal. Well, I found that if you just we don't need the color. We don't need the original color of the first decal. So I said, okay, let's put it like black and white. Make it grayscale. But when you grayscale a texture, you don't have control on you have control on the weights of each channel, but you should change every time you should change those lighters every time you have a new decal. So I've done a little bit of research, and I found this node, which is the Grayscale Conversion Advanced. And basically what happened with this one is that you can have a slider here, you can have a drop down menu, you can change the max value. So is still black and white, but it is basically as bright as it can be. And I need the original decal as bright as it can be, because then if I put the color here in overlay, overlay will darken it a little bit. So the grayscale conversion in max mode is basically balancing it a little bit. And that's it. So it's pretty simple. I blurred the original texture and I put it in overlay over black and white decal. That's the result. And
that works well.
That works well, but as you can see, we lost a little bit of, I don't want maybe to change everything here. I want to change maybe, the inside, but maybe these rocks, I want to keep them as, with the original color. So I use this color match node, you see, and
use
it in average mode. It you get back a little bit of the original color of the texture. And then I just use a blend to say, okay, maybe I want this one, maybe I want this one. I don't know. Depends on the decals. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so I can just, with the opacity, control the result from the outside. So now this graph will need two input. And as you can see from the Unreal scene, now I have here another scene. I don't know if you heard my son is screaming from the other door. I'm sorry
but
for that.
not that much. That's fine.
Okay.
we are all I think everyone here understands with the situation, the worldwide situation. Everyone
man.
in the same case.
So I'm sorry for that, but so this is a test scene I've done, and as you can see here, we have the decal, and we can move it around. And as you can see, it doesn't match at all with the asphalt I have here. Okay, so the asphalt is just a source material I've downloaded, and as you can see here, I can change the color of the asphalt, as much as I want. And then what I've done is I put this base color of the asphalt inside this decals color here. And in the first lot, I put the decals I downloaded from source. So, now if I press play, the match will happen. And now the decal is matched with the original with the new asphalt, I would say. Really so cool. we can try again. I'm making the asphalt way more darker. As you can see, the decals doesn't match anymore. But if I press play, it updates, and now it
play
matches.
will reprocess the texture, basically, right?
Yes, basically, yes. And if it doesn't work, because as you said before, there's always some problems when a new version of Unreal came out. The plugin have to update, so sometimes this doesn't work automatically. I've done a blueprint here, which basically take all the decals and update them manually with the new texture. Okay. But this is not necessary normally. Okay, so it should work as it is. And I talk with the guys in your Discord chat, and they assure me that it is working. So that's just basically a safe net for me.
Okay,
something
but that's super cool. And the cool thing with this workflow is that you can actually prototype within Substance Designer, and once you have your effect, you can choose which part will be within the Substance graph, which part is in the shader instructions. So yeah, that works well. So,
and now we have only one decals, but imagine we have hundreds of them. You press play.
Yeah, you don't have to make them one by one.
No, because cool. otherwise, you should normally what you do is you go inside, the decal here, and then you match the color manually, and it takes forever because this is how it works. There's nothing you can do, but with Substance Designer, we can solve the problem. Okay. If you have any question, otherwise we can go on.
Yeah. People are really curious about all these processes, and so this one is cool. Is will you be able to make the post-production of a Substance material in real time within Unreal? I think that technically yes. No.
Sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, actually, it was what you were showing before. If actually all this work could be done within Unreal, but whatever work. But I think we already more or less answered, because in most of the case it's feasible, but it will cost more instruction for nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is a master material with some post production in it, and if I make an instance of this, and I open it, as you can see, we have some, brightness, metallic, normal map power, contrast, etc., and you can do the post-production from here. But the thing is, From here, it costs you, in terms of frame rate, probably, I don't know, resources. I'm not a technician, but
Yeah.
but you can do that.
Yeah.
It's compiling.
Exactly. The more instruction you will add in within Unreal, the more costly it will be. So it's better if you can to put this kind of information within
In
the
Substance.
Substance file.
Yeah, I mean,
And
this values, these parameters, we can have them here, but they will cost you. Instead, if you have them inside here, they will not cost you anything.
yeah,
And it's the
exactly.
same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly this. Most of the case is the same mathematical process behind it. It's just in one case, it's processed one to generate a texture, and the other one, it has to be processed every 30 30 times per second or 60 times per second. So it means like, imagine if you have, like, for example, falling water on animated water on a rock. Of course, it's not interesting to make it in a Substance Designer, because it means that you will have to reprocess the texture for 30 frames per second, and you don't want that. But in that case, you would put this information in a shader, which is made to work 30 frames per second. But for anything static, if you can put it in the texture, which means in the Substance file, it's better.
Yeah, but I just give you an idea. Let's say you have an object in the scene, right? And you can, like, in Unreal, you can make a shot in, like, take a frame of with a camera of where the object is, right? So you can have an orthographic photo of that object from the top. You can then process that photo, make it like a texture, and I don't know, you can make that thing into some dirt through a graph.
Yeah.
So the dirt is made in the texture, not live with some materials. So everything that turns into a texture in Unreal can be processed by a Substance Designer and become another texture. But the pro are, it's a texture, is not something you have to process every frame.
Cool. So we have three more questions. So quickly, once we have been answering, does the fact that you are using 4K texture add more instruction in Unreal rather than 2K? Once again, it will borrow memory, or if the instructions has to be treated by pixel, for example, it will be the same amount but for more pixels. So it means that it will take longer.
Maybe it will take a little bit longer, to see the preview, but we are talking about milliseconds.
Exactly. The thing is, we have to think: is it an instruction which is to the full texture or by pixel, for example? If it's by pixel, it may take longer.
Normally, what I do is I keep the output size very low when I have to deal with the starting texture, and then when I'm happy with the color and the result, I just put 4K. And I get the 4K value,
exactly,
the 4K results.
Meanwhile, you load the next example, the next topic. I'm going to ask you two other questions. Basically, the substance graph adjustment will be saved into a new texture in real time. Yeah, the texture will be regenerated. So
yeah, sure.
And another one: is it possible to have height with the decal height map?
No, I don't think so, but you can have parallax mapping, parallax occlusion. So it's something that looks like height map.
Yeah, it will fake.
It will fake the height, and it's a really good fake.
Yeah.
And in Unreal, you can also, with blueprints, you can basically pick up position for a light you have in the scene, and you can also generate fake shadows for parallax. So it will be very cool. Normally, you don't see the difference. If we get to the end of the talk, I can show you an example.
We'll try. And generally, it works well. It works better for concave shape than a convex one, but it's really convincing, no?
Parallax is, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not working if you have a circle, if you have a,
Yeah.
you know, like a hill. But if you have something that is lightly bumped, is fine, or
Cool.
or flat, it's fine.
Perfect.
And of course, you don't have to exaggerate because it's a fake effect. If you see this, the border, you know, of the object, you can tell it's fake.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at this an angle which is a bit, like from the horizon, for example, you will see the trick. But in most of the angle view, it's super.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And it's very like cheap, you know, to calculate than a displacement for sure. Now this topic is a little bit probably like I mean it's difficult for me to explain, and I will try to go pretty slow. The thing is, nowadays, when you work in production or when you are alone at night, like me, you know, working on a project, there's not a lot of time, and so sometimes I found myself not doing my own shaders. I found myself downloading stuff from internet, you know, pre-made stuff. And nowadays, you know, we have photogrammetry, which is great, and which means very high quality for textures. But at the same time, photogrammetry lose everything about, you know, procedural maps. So my thought was, how can I mix both of them? How can I mix the two? How can I have something which is procedural, but at the same time with the quality of photogrammetry? And then I run some tests and I found an idea. So what I'm going to show you is a beta, right? Is not like a finished thing, but I mean, it's working, but it's just probably the tip of an iceberg. So we're going to use, of course, Substance Designer to mix procedural and scans. And in this example, we are going to basically work on some tiles. So the goal of this is to take some textures of tiles and hack them, change them completely, and get something completely new. All right, like you see in the preview here, in this silly preview here on the top. Now, to understand the process, I need to start from here. Now, when we apply a texture on a mesh, we can do that because of UV coordinates, okay? And a UV coordinate basically is nothing more than a link between a 2D, a bidimensional area and a three-dimensional object. You know, which means that to every point of a 2D texture, you know, it belongs to a point in a 3D mesh. And you know, when we talk about UVs, normally these kind of things came out, which is basically how the softwares, you know, kind of preview the UV coordinates, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. This looks like that because it's like a gradient that goes from left to right, black and white gradient that goes left to right in the red channel, and black and white gradient that goes from bottom to top in the green channel. Is like it's like a way to say a coordinate. Okay, this point is a coordinate, which means that is this green because, you know, is this red in the red channel and is this green in the green channel.
Yeah,
But
we don't have to think about color in that case, but really about
values, you know,
number,
like
value.
From 0 to 1. Okay.
Exactly.
So a point in the center here is 0.505, I would say, right? So when you scale and rotate or move a texture, actually you are moving the UVs. You are not moving the texture out at all. Okay, you are moving the UVs, and in this example, I'm moving some rows of the UVs, and as you can see, the texture is moving at the same time. So is this, if you think about this, it's kind of the same of the directional warp in Substance Designer. And I believe that, everybody sooner or later, end up knowing about, the directional warp in Substance Designer, is that node that moves the content to a direction for an intensity, right? And, the thing is, if we want to take some tiles and completely randomize the position of those tiles, we need two of them. We need two directional warp, if you think, right? Because one directional warp will move the tiles on the horizon or horizontal line, and one directional warp will move them on the vertical, okay? So we need two of them. But beside this, the thing is, how directional warp works. Basically, if you input a white color in the intensity slot, you can move the original content by 1 full unit if you put 255 in the directional warp intensity. Okay, so I can show you an example. If we have a directional warp and we have something here, I don't know, a noise, okay, or maybe it's better to use a gradient. Okay, here we go.
Non ho capito.
Siri is trying to help me. And here we have a white color.
You have a substance designer that speaks Italian to you?
No, it's Google. Sometimes understand weird stuff. So if we move this by 256, the map does a full circle. You see? So if I have mid gray here, it moves by half. All right? So 255 256 is the magic number that allows us to move the content by 100%. Okay, if we put white here, if we put 50% gray here, the content will move 50%. All right, is this clear? Because we need to get this clear before.
Yeah, it's definitely clear. It's really offsetting depending of the value of the grayscale
of this one. So if I put like 25% gray, is going to move 25%, and so on. Okay, but we need to put 256 here in the intensity of the directional warp.
Yeah, which corresponds to the.
In order for this to work. So now, how can we use the directional warp? Well, normally what we do is we use it with generic textures to break them. We use them to create, like, from one single ground texture, we can get like different tiles. All right, but there's a problem. The problem is, if we randomly move around tiles, we will end up with this, which is not great, because maybe this tile is moved, I don't know, 35%. It doesn't end in a specific point of the grid, and that's the difficult part. We cannot just move with the directional warp a tile texture by a random value. This is the tricky part. I don't think is easy to understand.
Yeah,
at the first glance.
I think it's clear.
Okay,
it's pretty clear.
Okay, so this is something we cannot do, right? We need to move each tile of a specific amount, because this tile can only end up here or here or here. All right, so if we need this tile to end up here or here or here, we need to move it like 25% or 50% or 75%. right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what we need is a node that read the tile generator and read each value of the tile generator and, you know, transform those values in usable values. Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine this as like a random movements, and these as perfect movements.
Yeah, we have to put some order in the randomness.
Yeah. So now this could be scary, but I need to explain this. Now, if you have a pixel processor is a special node in Substance Designer that read the values of each pixel. You know, it's like a scanner. So with these two nodes, you can read every pixel value. It's like if I open the texture in Photoshop and I start from the first pixel on the top and I say, okay, this is gray 50%, this is gray 50%, and so on. Okay. And then I need to know how many tiles we have in our map. For example, we have 4 in here. Okay. So if you think now, to transform each gray value, each random gray value in exact, like those value like 25, 50, 74, or 1, we need to do this simple math, which means this. Let's say that the value we read is 20% gray, right? So we have, I don't know, we have like, let me open it. Let's say we are here. Okay.
There are some people happy in the chat to see some pixel processor.
Okay. So I'm happy. So let's say that, you know, the pixel processor is reading the original tile generator and is reading these pixels. Let's say that this is 20% gray. Okay. 20% gray mathematically is 0.2. Okay. So it multiplied that 0.2 by 4, which is the number of tiles we have here. Okay. The result is 0.8. And then we need another node, which is called seal, which basically takes the number we have and bring it to the next integer. Okay. Yeah. So 0.8 becomes 1, of course.
Yeah.
And then you divide that again by the number of tiles. And the result is 0.25. And so now that 20% gray, which is not usable for this texture, becomes 25% gray, which is perfect.
Yeah, so it's
which will move.
Yeah, you move exactly from what
you will move that tile 25%. So it will move by 1, basically.
Yeah, and if it's more, it will adjust to move exactly the number.
Exactly. Let's take another example. Let's take another example. If we read a value of 30% gray is 0.3, okay, multiplied by 4 is 1.2. Seal becomes 2 because the higher the highest, you know, the higher integer is 2, and then divided by 4 is 0.5.
Yeah.
And if you read like 80% gray, in the end it becomes 1 because, you know, it becomes by 4. 33.2 sealed, it becomes 4, divided by 4, the 1 becomes 1.
And as we loop, it will go the way around. So.
And so basically what happened is this. What happened is that this is the original texture, okay? And the pixel processor sorry, let me show you. If we put this texture here, you see, this is not good.
Yeah, it's going all over the places.
Because we are moving these tiles by random numbers.
Yeah.
But if we instead of that, if we make a pixel processor, the pixel processor, you see, this is the same math I just show you, basically it gives us a perfect result, because each tile it can move only in these places.
Yeah, that's perfect. So basically, just to maybe there was one stuff that people in the pixel processor, there was a tile Y which was exposed. Basically, this is the tile Y from the tile generator. So we
Yes,
take this value and we use it to adapt to the current number.
I mean, I have some exposed values in this graph.
Yeah.
And you see, it's coming from there.
That's a really good trick, because this way you add some variation while respecting the bricks aspect.
Exactly. So basically, what happens now? We are going to, in Unreal, we are going to input some textures. I can show you what happens. Okay. So the first thing we need to do in Unreal is to match the number of tiles. So in Unreal, we are going to look at the original texture, and we're going to say, okay, in X we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Y we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of them. Okay. And once we have this, then the work is done, because the graph will basically use a flood fill. Oh, here we have, I mean, let me do one thing. Sorry. I put a global scale, because the other thing is, maybe you want more tiles than just the one you have. So what I've done is, after each input, I've put a transformation to D this save transform color to increase the number of tiles. So basically, like, it's like saying, okay, I maybe I want more tiles, so I can just bring the texture inside a save transform color, and I can expose this number. So if I want more of them, I can just increase the number of tiles, and I will generate a much bigger kind of texture. But then the trick is, to get from this texture here, a tile generator look like. And to make this, you need to go through flood fill. Now, flood fill understand where white shapes are. And as you can see, the flood fill is, the only problem with flood fills is that we have edges. And we don't need edges. So a small trick for this is to use the flood fill and a flood fill to grayscale, which basically will generate a different gray value for each tile. But you can choose the uniform, you can choose a color, a maximum color for it. And if you use mid-gray as a maximum color, the darkest color here will be mid-gray. And we need to do this because then if we put this result inside a distance node, the distance node will basically delete every gap, every grout of those tiles. And from there, you can just do the auto levels to get more values, and the pixel processor to get the right values. The one I just show you here.
Awesome.
So these two, why we have two of them? Because it's the same thing, but I want two different results, because with the first one, I will move the texture on the horizontal, line, and with the second, I will move it on the vertical line. And so, is a way, you see. So we start with this one. This is the original one, and as you can see, is just tiled twice. You can see the repetition. I put a little bit of these maps on the top just to get a little bit more differences, that helps. But then with the 2 directional warp, I move them with, horizontally by a random number on the grid, and with the 2nd directional warp on the top, again with a random number, but also on the grid.
Nice.
And so in Unreal, we can, let me show you. This is the original texture I downloaded from source. And here we have, the tile test. Oh, sorry. Where is it? I have it in another folder, but anyway, this is basically the textures I have done. So this is the original one, and this is the new one. Of course, as you can see, you can tell there is some, veins here that they repeat,
Yeah, but still,
but
there is
but that's because the original texture is, probably, there's a few of them. But if you, and there's some very detailed, parts. So I mean, probably is the best to do this is to use something like, I don't know, something like this. And
more natural.
And basically you can, I can show you, we can make, I will show you because I kind of lost it. So here we have, I need the new texture to tiles instance.
Meanwhile, you are making it.
Yeah.
I will answer a question. Someone was asking if it was possible to create procedural landscape height map in Substance Designer. Technically, you can. There are some examples. There is the erosions, which is a bit more complicated to do. Some people, if you look on ArtStation, for example, you will find some example of it. Then there is some a resolution problem as well, which can be an issue because for a landscape, it means like a super wide space, or maybe a 4K texture or 8K texture won't be enough. In case you have some dedicated software as well, which are made for this, and even I think in Unreal you have some feature that allows you to create landscapes. Go ahead.
So this is my graph I just created, okay? And I plugged in these textures. And now I'm getting, I'm going to save. And hopefully I'm going to, get some new texture from that stuff. As you can see, they're making. The thing is now, by default here, we have 2 tiles in X and 5 tiles in Y. But the original texture is different. So the first thing we need to do is to match the number of tiles. So I go back here, I open this one, and I can see very clearly that in this texture here, I have 1, 2, and a 3, okay, on the X. So I put 3 here, and 2 in the Y. So I put 2 here, okay? And I save again. And now I should get the right result. Let's move this here. And the problem, as you can see, is this texture is not starting from 0, right?
Definitely there is an offset.
Tile, so there is an offset. So what I've done is I put a pre-offset on the texture, which is here. So as you can see from the graph, I said, okay, if somebody input a texture which is not perfectly starting on 0, let's have here, let's move it ourselves to 0, you know, before doing the whole operation. And so I expose those values, and we have them, here exposed. So I'm going to move them, and as you can see, I mean, now it's not easy because I need to move them by, you know, the right value. But if I, you know, it's a 4K texture, so it's taking probably too much. But if I move by, you know, the right value, give me a second, you know, it's the beauty of the live thing. A little bit more, a little bit more.
Yeah.
They will match eventually.
Yeah, and then we'll have to skip to the latest because we're almost already 1 hour and a half.
Okay, so you see, okay, so you see now basically is a brand new texture, as a brand new set of texture, and you started with start from the first one, and you can get some differences, and you can also add a offset post to move just one single line of textures, you know, to create some kind of bricks thing.
So yeah, basically from a picture, from a static picture, you almost make it half procedural by just with the substance file.
Yeah, so from this one.
That's awesome.
Last thing, endless materials. Now, the problem we normally have, with textures is repetitions, okay? So it's very easy to see the same texture over and over. And the last year I came up with an idea about creating texture which, you know, the brain can't see the repetition, okay, of it. And the idea of an endless texture is basically a texture made of 4 different subtextures, okay? And the inside of each subtexture is different, but the borders are the same. And normally the borders came from the first one, okay? So in this way, what happened is this. If the software can then randomly place, you know, each subtexture in a different part of the surface, you know, they will match together. They will match because they have the same outside, but they will not look, you know, like we normally are used to, you know, see. I mean, they will not, we are not going to see the repetition. Actually, if let's say that we have our player here and we are playing, you're not going to see all of them. You know, you are going to see like the first 20 of them, and that's enough for the brain to not get the the repetition thing. So what can we do? I mean, in Substance, it's very easy to get, you know, instances of the same texture. You can take the same graph and place it into a new graph and change the seed number, right? So this is a shader I've downloaded from the source, right? So my idea now is I know how to do endless texture myself. The trick is how to make endless texture with shaders from source. And actually, it's very easy to do that. So I just downloaded from source the shader, which is this one. I download the SBS. Of course, you can do this only if you have the SBS file. And I open it in in Substance Designer. I will show you later.
And just as a detail, in case in that case it's not relevant, but Substance Source, once you have installed the Unreal plugin, it's also directly available within Unreal Engine. So you can open Substance Source within Unreal Engine and download as well.
Yeah, but it wasn't working yesterday. So
yesterday, yes, but today.
I was my fault. Probably, I don't know. I had a problem with the line, so
we never have bugs. Never.
No, but I mean, it's very cool because you can download it directly into the Unreal Engine from the button on the top. So what we need is, you know, to put these 4 textures, one in each, you know, in each quad, I would say. And then the second problem is to solve is that we need to understand the borders of the first one. Because if we get the texture from the border, that we can replicate that texture 4 times, only this part. And then if we put the two things one on top of the other, that's it. We have an endless texture. So as you can see here, I mean, it looks natural, it looks okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the borders are always the same, and the inside area is always different. So how can you do that? This is how you do that. You download the shader, the SBS AR file, the SBS file, sorry, and you double click to open it, and then you get scared by it because you get this, okay? And that's perfectly okay, because this is how stuff sometimes works when you download things from someone else. Is not, maybe it's not your way to do things, and but the thing is, we don't care about it, because all what we care about is to create. What we need is just to create another output. So we create another output. We add mask as usage if you want. I mean, it's not really necessary, but it's in my habits. And then what we need to do is to go and search in this graph something that looks like the shape of your stones. Okay. And this is it. I just watch, a little bit, like it took me a minute. I just, search here and said, okay, at one point I found like this one, and this one looks like, the shape of the stones. Take that node, bring it out in that output. That's all you need to do to convert a normal material from source to an endless material. And then and this stuff, you can find it on our YouTube channel, and these two you need these two graphs. You will find it also on our website soon. So basically this graph, take this one and do the job. So basically it makes 4 iterations of the original material from source, and understand, through a smart mask, the shape, the outside of it. And thanks to the smart mask, you can also and this stuff you can modify it from Unreal. So you see you can modify the mask on the borders, because you need at least 1 stone on the borders, and once you have it, then the graph mix everything together. Here you can see it mix the four base color together. It mix the 4 normals together, and then mix these maps with the original texture using this kind of smart mask. So once you have this texture is done. It's an endless texture, and we can go in Unreal and use it. So the last thing I will show you what's the difference between the normal. This is the shader downloaded from source, and as you can see, you can tell the repetition, the tiling of it, and this is the same texture but endless. And you cannot see.
And do you do anything in Unreal Engine to, for example, to make the repetition like?
I mean, the endless material is very simple, as you can see. The UVs basically do all the job. So the UVs takes one of these subtexture and place them randomly on the object.
Perfect.
And if you want to know more about this, you can search SOA Academy on YouTube, and you will find some tutorials about the endless textures in Unreal. And it works also with parallax.
Yeah, and it's pretty convincing. I think the video you made is like 52 minutes or something like this, so it's pretty complete. It details all the process to make it, but that's a perfect way because there is no magic to do it, but you can just trick the eyes and it works. It works super well.
It's just one texture, so it's really like a good starting point, because then in Unreal you can add the decals on top of this, but at least you know that you're not going to see the tiling repetition.
Yeah. So I think so. Thanks a lot, because this was a super trick. I want to try to do something myself with that, because it seems like lots of fun, and it gives idea. And one of the ideas that someone had actually in the chat was so first of all, if you guys have questions, I think we are already like 1 hour 40. So if you guys have question in the chat, that's the right moment to ask them. One of them is the texture full square at the beginning. Can you add a function for random rotation based on 90 degrees, 100 degrees? I think it depends of the border. It will be more complex. This is called wonk tiling, I think.
I mean, the inner part could be rotated, but the outside cannot be rotated, and because then you will not have. I'm sure I will show you a very cool thing. There is a random value here, and when I change the random value, you will understand the trick. Look.
Yeah, we see actually that the border are statics. Meanwhile, they're
yes,
but it's great, because that's some people were asking about other solution compared to Substance Designer. But one of the strengths of Substance Designer is that if it's 100 procedural, you can get this kind of stuff, like meaning repeating everything from scratch and regenerating procedural randomly the content. But yeah, we technically maybe making something more complex to rotate, but as you can see, it works perfectly here without the need to.
I mean, you can do something that rotate the content, but then it's gonna work only if you have perfect tiles.
Yeah, exactly. And you have, if you guys are interested and really passionate, you can Google wonk tiling. There is a lot of theory about that, on making like border tiles on two sides. That's way more tricky. That's way, but that's feasible. I think we have someone internally, David Larson, who made something like that. I don't know if he published it somewhere. I think I'm looking. Can you tell me how to add height without the mesh totally distorting when I move? I think it's a bit out of topic. Adding more resolution to your base mesh may help, I guess.
In Unreal?
Yeah, I think in Unreal. So
you need to work with the tessellation.
Yeah, and there is dynamic tessellation, I guess, depending on the distance and the complexity of the.
Yeah, here you need to turn on. You need to turn on tessellation, and here, and you need to put here a number.
Okay, perfect.
So like a scalar, and 0 is the lowest quality. If you go up, the mesh will breaks apart a lot more. But I mean, I'm not suggesting you to do this, because it happens on every frame. So it's better to load a pre-tessellated mesh in Unreal and just do the displacement.
Perfect. Well, Roberto, thanks a lot. That was a lot of information. So we have learned a lot. I hope you guys like this kind of format. We wanted to do something a bit different than before, like showing how to use Substance in another context. If you guys have more questions, you don't hesitate to go to SOA Academy to look at it, especially if you are in archviz, passionate about archviz, but not only. And also, I think the SOA days are from the 3rd and 4th of December.
Yeah.
So definitely go and watch. The cool thing is Substance is that it's used in many industries, and many techniques are available. What is right for archviz can be used in environment art as well. So Academy Days, yeah.
At the end of the page, you will find some extra contents from our artists, also about Substance Designer. So guys, if you are interested, I mean, just be here on 3rd of December. Vincent, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Grazie mille.
Grazie a te. Thanks a lot also to Tao and all the guys, you know, involved in this. It's been an honor to be here with you guys. You do such a great job, and we really love your software. So, you know, keep rocking, guys.
Cheers, and thank you everyone. And it was Wes and Marine in the chat. Thanks to them, and see you for the next Substance live stream. Bye bye.
Okay, man. Bye.